A potential predator, an enraged father, one family slain, another destroyed in the process. This is the story of Major John Kaler, a man who brutally attacked his neighbors while claiming he was just trying to protect the ones he loved. And yet, the story of Kaler's attack isn't as clear-cut as you might expect. It all started with an accusation that was never proven, but regardless, it led to several innocent people losing their lives. The question we must ask ourselves is this: how far would we go to protect the ones we love? As this story unfolds, we'll attempt to unpack the events that led to Kaler asking himself this question, and finding out that the answer was more violent than he could have ever imagined. 41-year-old Kenna Gipe lived in the 500 block of West Brown Avenue in Kellogg, Idaho. With a population of just over 2,000 people, this tiny town, situated in the scenic Silver Valley of Shoshone County, was probably just what Kenna needed, considering how difficult her life had been. She lived in the bottom half of a duplex with her father, 65-year-old Kenneth Gipe, and her children, Devin and Aiken, who were 18 and 16 years old, respectively. Despite what you might think, Devin and Aiken weren't technically part of the Gipe family. Their family name was listed as Smith, suggesting that their father had been in the picture long enough to give them his own family name. However, he abandoned his family at some point, forcing Kenna to raise the children on her own. According to a statement made by her mother, Jerry Silva, Kenna had basically fallen off the map some months ago. She hadn't heard from her since the beginning of 2023, suggesting that she was running from something, or perhaps someone. Desperate and alone, Kenna eventually made her way back to her father in Kellogg sometime during 2023. Kenneth was more than happy to take his daughter and grandchildren in, but no matter how much he tried, he couldn't make up for the lack of a father figure in Devin and Aiken's lives. Even so, the family got settled in the ground-floor apartment. They even formed a respectful relationship with the Kalers, who had lived in the apartment above for years. The two families shared a backyard, which meant that they interacted quite frequently, and there had never been any signs of tension between them. But underneath the surface, there was a darkness that would burst out so suddenly that it would change the sleepy town forever. Part of it had to do with Devin, who had some serious trouble adjusting to society and learning how to behave appropriately around women. But as we'll soon reveal, the perpetrator of this crime had a ticking time bomb of violence within him that was just waiting to go off. Anyone who looked at Major John Kaler could tell that he hadn't exactly lived a normal life. With the word "savage" tattooed on his forehead, it was clear that he was the sort of man who could snap at any moment. Despite that, there was no indication that he was abusive toward his family. In fact, if appearances are anything to go by, the Kalers seemed to be living a perfectly happy life. Kaler had found himself a job at the local mine, which brought in enough money to support a family of 4. His wife, Kaylee, loved her husband dearly, as did their 3 young children, whose names have been withheld from the public. It's important to note that Kaler had a dark past. His criminal history was by no means spotless, showing a reckless streak that led to him being caught with narcotic substances in his possession at one point. He was able to plead the charges down to a misdemeanor, but the mark on his record, along with his face tattoo, meant that he didn't have many employment options. Born and raised in Shoshone County, Kaler might have made his way to Kellogg because of the local gold mine. It provided well-paying job opportunities to anyone willing to live in such a far-flung locale. And just like Kenna, Kaler probably needed the peace and quiet of Kellogg, Idaho, as he tried to clean himself up. His family was likely his saving grace, and he would have done anything to protect them. Idaho's gun laws allowed anyone to carry a concealed firearm, and that's exactly what Kaler did. He wasn't going to take any chances when it came to protecting his wife and kids. But it was almost like he was looking for an opportunity to use that weapon, or perhaps his past altercations with the seedier side of life had shown him that nowhere is truly safe. Either way, the fact that Devin Smith lived just downstairs made it all but inevitable that a confrontation would occur. Growing up without a father is never easy, but Devin Smith might have had significant personality issues holding him back. People who knew him say that he struggled with a learning disability, so there's a chance he felt extremely isolated in the small community of Kellogg. His brother, Aiken, didn't seem to face such problems. By all accounts, he was a well-adjusted member of the community. No one seemed to mind his presence as much as Devon's, but there was a good reason why people were wary of the older brother. No one knows why the boy's father was out of the picture. Considering the social issues Devon experienced, there's a chance that he was extremely abusive. But whatever the case may be, Devon never really learned how to behave around other people, especially women. He also seemed to have an obsessive personality. According to Daisy Sawyer, one of his classmates, Devon frequently harassed her at school. This could have involved anything from stalking to outright sexual advances. The details are unclear. But the point is this: Devon's understanding of consent was dubious at best, and it led to him behaving extremely inappropriately with the people around him. He developed a reputation at school for having inappropriate behavior. It's likely this included incidents that raised concerns, as Devon was eventually placed in a special program to help troubled teens. The program seemed to have worked, as we found photographic evidence of Devon graduating from high school. However, his personality issues appeared unresolved, and it's possible that his mother and grandfather didn't do enough to address his actions. The Gipes had only moved into the bottom floor of the duplex a few weeks before the incident, suggesting they may have had to relocate due to Devon's behavior. Regardless, shortly after graduating, Devon was looking forward to a long summer of relaxation. It's unclear whether he intended to attend college, but the town of Kellogg didn't offer many opportunities for a teen who struggled with social adjustment. Meanwhile, upstairs, Major John Kaler was constantly on guard, looking for any signs that his family might be in danger. This made the duplex apartment feel like a tense environment, ready to explode. Devon's troubling actions eventually acted as the trigger, setting off a series of events that would deeply affect both families. On June 13, 2023, Kaylee Kaler was in the garden with her young daughters when she witnessed something disturbing. Devon was seen through the bathroom window, behaving inappropriately. Kaylee was understandably shocked and immediately informed her husband, also sharing the situation on Facebook. The next step was to call the police, which the Kalers did without delay. They filed a report, and authorities visited the duplex to conduct an investigation. Despite Kaylee's claims, the police apparently didn't find sufficient evidence to pursue legal action. No charges were filed, leaving the matter unresolved. This left Kaler feeling infuriated. From his perspective, the authorities had failed to protect his family, and he was forced to live next door to someone he believed was a threat. His thoughts began to turn toward his firearm, considering how he could eliminate the perceived danger. On June 15, the Kaler family celebrated Father's Day. They likely did their best to maintain a sense of normalcy, but the recent incident had undoubtedly created tension. Kaler was in a dark mood, unable to shake the fear of what might happen. Downstairs, the Gipes likely did not celebrate Father's Day, as there was no father in the picture, and the recent police visit likely left them feeling unsettled. Kenna thought about her son, Devon, and the accusations he had faced. She felt the need to protect him, as he didn't have anyone but her, his brother, and their grandfather. Perhaps if someone had intervened, the following events might have played out differently. Unfortunately, no action was taken, and 3 days later, Kaler's anger finally boiled over. On the evening of June 18, Kaler returned home from his Sunday shift at the mine. The past 5 days had been emotionally exhausting for him. His mind raced with thoughts about the perceived threat living downstairs and what might happen while he was at work. As soon as he got home, he retrieved his handgun and strapped it to his belt. He joined his family in the garden, where the initial incident had occurred 5 days earlier. There's a chance he brought his gun as a precaution in case anything else happened. Devon attempted to repeat his past behavior, but the 18-year-old neighbor was not around. Standing at the scene must have pushed Kaler to his breaking point, and he decided to take matters into his own hands. He marched over to his neighbors and knocked on the door, prompting Kenna to answer. The moment he saw her, he launched into an angry tirade about how she was protecting someone who had caused harm. He brought up the previous accusations against Devon again, hoping Kenna would respond. However, Kenna wasn't about to turn against her son, regardless of what had happened. He was still her child, and she was determined to protect him. The commotion drew Kenneth to the door, who attempted to de-escalate the situation, all while maintaining that Devon hadn't done anything wrong. According to Kaler, there was no remorse from their side, nor did they apologize or acknowledge the incident. This fueled Kaler's anger further, and the Geips' response pushed him over the edge. When Kaler asked what they were going to do about Devon, they replied that there wasn't anything they could do. Upon hearing this, Kaler decided he had to take action himself. At 7:20 p.m., the Shoshone County Sheriff's Office received a call from someone living on West Brown Avenue, reporting multiple gunshots and stating that several people appeared to have been killed. When police arrived at the scene, Kaler immediately confessed to having shot his 4 neighbors. Idaho State Police Detective Justin Klitsch testified that Kaler was read his rights shortly after the arrest. Upon entering the property, police found a tragic scene. Kenna and Kenneth were both lying in the backyard, having been shot multiple times. Moving inside the home, they found 16-year-old Aiken, who had suffered a fatal gunshot wound. Devon was discovered in his bedroom, also shot several times. Kaler confessed to the authorities, explaining that he had acted in response to what had happened to his daughters. Based on the evidence, it is believed that Kaler shot Kenna and Kenneth at the back entrance of their home. He then entered the house, where he found Aiken and shot him. Devon, likely aware of what was happening, hid in his bedroom, but Kaler found him and shot him as well. Police discovered several empty shell casings at the scene, indicating that Kaler had reloaded his weapon. This suggests that the incident was not just an impulsive act, but rather a deliberate and calculated one. Kaler's wife, Kaylee, was still in the garden when the argument escalated. She later reported witnessing the events and quickly took her daughters upstairs for safety. Kaylee heard further gunshots from her apartment and eventually claims to have heard her husband talking on the phone, saying he had taken 4 lives. It's likely that Kaler was calling the police to confess since he didn't resist when he was taken into custody. Before being taken away, he told his wife to let their daughters know that he had only been trying to protect them. Kaler was then charged with 4 counts of first-degree homicide and 1 count of felony burglary. The entire county was abuzz after this incident, with people questioning how such a tragedy could happen. This case became highly publicized, and during court appearances, Kaler had to wear a bulletproof vest due to the tension surrounding the trial. Despite admitting to the police that he shot his neighbors after losing control, Kaler shocked everyone by pleading not guilty in court. This plea may have been advised by his lawyer, as first-degree homicide in Idaho can result in the death penalty. However, the evidence against him was strong. A surveillance camera captured footage of the shooting, and Kaler had shared a post referencing an infamous case where a father had taken justice into his own hands. The impact statements from the victims' families were emotional. Kenna's grandfather expressed his heartbreak over losing an entire branch of the family, while Kenneth's brother emphasized how Kaler's actions destroyed both their family and his own. On March 25, 2024, Kaler pleaded guilty to reduced charges of second-degree homicide, avoiding the death penalty. He was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. Judge Barbara Dugan reprimanded him, calling the crimes heinous. Kaler is now serving his sentence, while his family is left to pick up the pieces. A GoFundMe was started to support them, but the road ahead will be difficult. Meanwhile, the relatives of the victims are mourning their loss as the Kellogg community set up a memorial for them. What do you think of this case? Did Kaler go too far, or was he acting to protect his family? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want more videos like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on crime content.